Sometimes I wrestle with my demons. Sometimes we just cuddle. That's my t-shirt this evening, folks. That's my motto. On Thursday nights, Ed and I talk sports. Stay tuned for the best of that coming up next.
This guy has made it through rounds playing the style that he plays.
He named every one. It's like this guy named all 5 of my game-winning shots from 2008, 2009.
I played with two of the most exciting players ever to play the game, Allen Iverson and Vince Carter.
I'm Bobby C, the wrestler, the cuddler, and that fine-looking chap over there is Edgar Burgos, and this is Step in the Arena on the Cruise Control Podcast Network in partnership with Hard to Guard Media. As always, thanks for tuning in on Twitter. As always, we appreciate the likes, the shares, the downloads, and whether on Twitter, YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, wherever you are this evening around the world, thanks for being there and thanks for listening and watching our podcast. And, you know, I asked this question as we start off the top, Ed, do you prefer to wrestle or to cuddle on a Thursday night, Ed?
On Thursday, wrestle.
Wrestle against me when it comes to the world of sports. That sounds good.
Yeah, when it comes to the world of sports, wrestle.
Well, I'm prepared for wrestling this evening, Ed. I have the right coffee cup and I have plenty of coffee so that I can, wrestle or cuddle with you. I'll be up, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I'm ready to go for the podcast. Excited for our guest tonight.
I feel good. We got a world champion coming on. So
I like
champions. I like champions.
Champions are good. I'm also very impressed by. I don't know if it's the halo around you, but you're looking very bright this evening. Again, for those listening on the audio side, they can't see you, but they should head over to YouTube because you're looking sparkling, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I had to step it up after last week's show with Charles Oakley. We did, we hit a couple of newspapers after that, so it was actually pretty good.
It was fantastic. Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that, but I guess it'd be a good time to bring in our guest. You know, why not?
Yeah. So
our guest this evening is a game changer in basketball, both on and off the hardwood. We welcome WNBA World Champion Essence Carson. Essence, step in the arena, and of course, don't mind Ed here with us tonight.
Thanks for having me tonight.
Essence will be now be called champ. That's what we're calling her.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. No, thanks for having me tonight, guys. Thank you.
So excited to see you. I know I probably just, as I said to Oakley last week, he bothers people until they eventually just cave in and come on the podcast. So I apologize for my co-host.
Oh, no. It wasn't even that tough, man. I've known him for a long time, back in my New York Liberty days and stuff like that, being around the training center and the garden and all that good stuff. So it was not a problem.
Man, I appreciate you. You see, that's the champ right there. You see that? You don't know nothing about that. You know about championship rings.
Again, I'm going to apologize for Ed just from the top here, how are you doing these days? I mean, what's going on in your world? I mean, it's been obviously an exciting career for you, and it looks like maybe looking for a new chapter.
Oh yeah, man. I'm out here in Los Angeles. You guys bring up the championship. That's where I won the championship, out in Los Angeles with the Sparks. I've been here since then, and just made it a second home. I've been able to continue to play basketball. Making this my home base, but also got a chance to get into the music industry as well. So, right now the music industry, a lot of the offices are based out of LA. So, it only makes sense for me to, to make this my second home, continue to train here, and to continue at my path in the industry.
Essence, when did you know that you wanted to be in the music industry?
Oh, when I was a kid, man. So I always loved music. I grew up with my grandparents, and the grandparents, they always had the old vinyl spinning, and I just took a liking to just loving music. It just always made me feel a certain way, made me feel happy. And then, once hip hop came along, once that came into the house, it was over. I was like, oh man, I wanna do something in music. So then I started taking all these different, lessons, whether it was piano, saxophone, Played the electric bass in a jazz band when I was in high school. Played the drums in church and all that. So I mean, I always had a liking towards music. I used to want to be like a Quincy Jones. I used to want to be like a Missy Elliott, stuff like that. Music was pretty much the soundtrack to my life, even though I was still playing basketball. When you're in the gym, people love having music playing. It makes you go harder, makes you work out harder for some reason. And to me, the two go hand in hand. Like I said, music is the soundtrack of life, no matter what you're doing.
What was your go-to song to hype you up before games?
It depends on what year we're talking about. I remember when I was with the USA team and we went down to Puerto Rico. We were playing. We used to love that "We Ready." That was back in the day. But that song was a hype song back then. And then when Drake came out with Big Rings, that was another one. When I was still up in New York, when I was still in the Garden, we used to listen to that in the locker room before like every game. Used to get us going. But like now, I'm like a little more laid back with things. So I just listen to music to kind of like mellow me out and just help me stay poised.
It always seems too like basketball players want to be musicians, rappers, and musicians and rappers want to be basketball players too.
Absolutely, that's true. I mean, I don't see a lot in that at all. There's no harm in it. I mean, if you're good at it, you're good at it. If you're not, that's a whole nother story, right? And if you're not, it's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
So you pick up.
Some are good and some are bad. There's no doubt about that.
No, yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say you pick up. You start realizing your love for music, and you get an internship. When did you know? Because you're still when you was playing that. You know what? I'm gonna start making money in the music industry.
Man, I was just like, okay, I did go overseas this year. This wasn't that bad. It was like my first time, like for real, not going overseas. The only other time I didn't go was when I had an ACL tear. Outside of that, it was a constant grind, 365. On the women's side, we play in the summer and the spring, but we also have to grind it out in that fall and winter time abroad, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in Asia, South America, but we're playing year round. So you don't really get to rest your body. You don't get to rest your mind. You don't get to spend time with your family like you really want to. You can't go on those vacations and spend time with people you love. Once I got to experience those couple of months at home with the internship and stuff like that, I was like, oh, okay. Maybe this might be the pivotal moment where I look at things a little differently, where I widen my scope, right? Where everything was just so tunnel vision. Is just like, okay, this is how it's supposed to be done because they said it's supposed to be this way. This was, the roadmap for professional women basketball players. All right. So I'm just like, well, maybe I could take a little right turn off this road and see where this road takes me. And, so far, so good. I've still been able to continue playing, but also continue to build a career in music. And it's been great. It's not often that you get these opportunities. So when the opportunity presented itself, of course, I'm going to say, yes, I want to do this full time, even though I was still playing basketball.
I mean, but you're still young. Have you thought about maybe kind of leaving basketball behind and making music the full-time job?
I honestly would like to just go as long as my body can take me, just making the right decisions about how to take care of your body, right? Putting, over the years, whether you're talking about when you first start playing basketball, some people start playing basketball when they're like 4 or 5. And this just been nonstop, then it goes to AAU, it's been high school, college, and then, hopefully becoming a professional athlete. That's a lot of miles on your body. So then I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to change up some habits here. So I started taking care of my body a lot better. You hear LeBron always talking about investing in his body. Now, we're not dealing with millions of dollars. We can't put $1 million into our body. But what we can do is, make the small lifestyle changes that'll help be preventative, right? So I started doing that, and I feel great. I feel like how I was when I was like 25 years old, still getting up early, working out, still running fast, jumping high, all those good things, but it feels good to know that I'm putting in the work and I'm taking care of myself in order to stay ready, and hey, I'm gonna ride this thing till the wheel falls off. until I'm of no use and of no value to this game. But even then, I still lend my mind to the game.
How's it make
All the more reason why you could have told Ed, no to the late night podcast.
Oh, no, it's all good. I'm 3 hours behind you guys. So, I might have been up at 5 this morning, but it's only like 6:30-ish around here, 6:45 around here. So it's not too late. And even if it was, I will always show love.
I appreciate
I didn't mean to cut you off, Ed. Go for it.
Now, I was going to say, how does it make you feel like, for women have to play basketball all year round to make decent money? Like, is that frustrating? Like, because you guys I've played, I remember like when I was younger and the WNBA first started, I was the guy playing against Teaspoon, Kim Hampton, and I did that for 30 years. Every morning I would play against them. We go 5-on-5 at Chelsea Piers, and it was rough. I was like, yo, and now today's player is so much better than they were back then.
Oh, no, yeah, for sure. I mean, of course it's frustrating, right? Of course, because even when I came into the game, we're like, what? And you got to remember, before we came around, they were playing for even less. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, well, even less here in America. Let me just make that clear. All right. So it's just like that. They were the trailblazers of all of this, and they weren't being compensated. So it was about trying to push this game forward. And you fast forward, 13 years later. We finally get this CBA when we're able to, increase salary, to a decent amount. It's a step. But you have to understand that even though the league started years ago, that people that are playing now are still trailblazers because they're paving the way for these women to make these millions of dollars in the future. It's a hard road. It's a long road. And it always feels like you have to justify why you should be paid that much, right? As if that we're not some of the best athletes, and not only in this country, but in this world, in our sport. That's not enough, because that seems to be enough for every other sport, right? That is the frustrating part. And then for people to say, oh, well, you're women. Now that right there is even more frustrating, because it's just like, we do the same things. We play the same game, same rules. No, we might not be high-flying dunkers all the time, although we have quite a few young ladies that are rising above the rim now. But there's a different, element to our game, that makes it exciting. And if they were to come to the games, they will understand the atmosphere, right? And understand how fun it is. But for people to even judge before they have even had a chance to attend, or even had a chance to even watch a game, a lot of the times, they're making these judgments and they haven't even really watched the game, right? You have these trolls. They exist. They're not going anywhere, but we're not going anywhere either. And we're going to continue to push forward and continue to fight.
I used to ask, hold on, Bob. I used to ask Spoon all the time that we used to, what pissed me off, like that you guys played in the summer. And I felt like I felt that was kind of disrespectful. That was my thing after a while, because I feel like, especially you've been in New York. New York is cold all the time. And when it's finally warm, you know what happens in New York.
We're going outside. You already know. We outside.
And I'm like, why the Liberty having a 4:00 afternoon game on Sunday? People are at Central Park. People are everywhere else. And I'm like, that's unfair. Like, I felt like the scheduling was a little off. Like, if you're going to have a game, have it, Saturday night, 7:30, something to do.
Yeah, something to do before you hit the club, right?
Yeah.
get a couple of drinks at the Garden before you get turned up, before you get lit.
And that's why I felt like, like they the WNBA season should be when the NBA season's going on. I feel like it's more exciting. A lot of things going on, but people are going to go watch.
No, that was always an argument, always. But what you had the idea that, oh, well, no one will come see the women's games because, the guys, are playing. And then also it's just like the timing factor. How will we schedule these games? It's not only about the games, it's about those concerts that are filling those arenas too. So, I feel like it was more of a business decision and marketing, of course. trying not to compete with the guys. But as you saw, I mean, we kind of overlapped this past year with the bubble situation, but it still turned out well for us. You know, our viewership was up tremendously still. It was just about, you know what, you just got to put the product out there. You know, if you don't show the product, you really can't expect people to kind of react to it, whether it's in a good or bad way. But, you know, there's been a lot of fighting, you know, on the player side, on the union side, and there's a lot of new faces that have been coming into, you know, the front offices that have been, you know, championing what we're saying and trying to make these things come to life. And you're seeing those changes happen before your eyes. Now, it might not be where we wanted to be, but, you know, at least like we're beginning to make those changes, and we just hope that the people that come after us don't let up. You can't take your foot off the gas. You can't take your foot off their necks.
Yeah, Essence, I mean, I actually went back to look it up because I was very curious about the actual numbers. You know, so for example, you bring up LeBron James, right? So I think a comparable player maybe in the WNBA in terms of success, years in the league, and then even the bonus for winning, let's say, last year's finals, okay, would be Sue Bird. So last year, LeBron made $37.4 million as 2020 salary. She made $215,000. Sue Bird made last year. Both of them, of course, have 4 championships. Both of them, as I mentioned, played 17 years in the league. The bonus for winning the WNBA Finals for 2020 was $11,356. LeBron last year made $370,000 for winning the NBA Finals, which of course is more than her entire salary from last season.
More than the whole league salary put together, but I'm just saying. Not saying he doesn't deserve that.
Absolutely, but I mean, clearly progress, but maybe not enough. No.
No, yeah, no, of course. And do we think that it's going to stop right here? No, we understand that this is just a stepping stone. You know, this is just another step to get where we really want to be and where we feel that we deserve to be. You know, the numbers are glaring. You know, a lot of people make the argument is that, oh, well, they're bringing in this amount of money, they're bringing in this amount of dollars. The season's longer. That's one thing. I mean, that's just one thing. Marketing is different, a lot of stuff, but a lot of things that I can say is that a lot more companies are starting to go in business with women, professional women athletes, and specifically the WNBA, where for a long time, you didn't see any of those partnerships, right? A long time, you didn't see any of those endorsement deals. You know, in the beginning, when the WNBA first popped up, it was like, oh, all eyes on them. But then that quickly disappeared. And it was kind of dormant since then. People were afraid to take chances on us because of how we look, you know, there's so many different reasons. Now it's just like, okay, now we want to be inclusive. So let's include them. All right. Yeah, you're right. Let's include them. We have a lot to make up for, a lot that we missed out on. So yeah, let's show the world that, you know, we're not only basketball players, right? Like we're not, we're reflective of society. You know, you look at the WNBA, you can say, yes, it's majority African-American. However, we're from all different walks of life, right? You have people from affluent neighborhoods. You have people from the hood. You know what I'm saying? You got people from the inner city, all walks of life, people that have master's degrees, people that have children. You know, we're representing a lot of different sectors of society. So treat us as such. You want your product to be marketed to everybody. You're looking at everybody.
Essence, I mean, how infuriating is it, though, when you see comments this week from Shaquille ONeal, who, of course, is a legend in basketball, and he makes comments about perhaps lowering the rims in the WNBA so that female players can dunk. I mean, that just sounds, to me, as entirely disrespectful about the game.
Well, you know, Shaq is a fellow Jersey native. You know, Shaq always has the shock factor with his jokes, always. That has not changed. But you know, coming from our side, that's nothing that we will ever consider. Now, has that conversation come up several times, numerous times over the years, over the entire existence of the WNBA? Yes, it has. Now, are we ever going to take that seriously? No, because we can play the game just as it is. And there are a lot of fans that enjoy us playing the game as it is, right? I mean, I know I saw something that about the top, within the top 5 selling jerseys, you have, Steph and you have Kyrie, and they combine for one dunk. So clearly, I mean, they're not there to see them dunk. Of course, Steph has the long range ability and Kyrie has handles, but we have people with long range and handles too. So, I mean, the game and the excitement of the game is not dependent on flying above the rim, anymore. All right. I know for a long time, people would always say, well, it's just because they don't dunk. That's the reason. Okay. Well, now there are a lot of people playing below the rim on the men's side as well. And you can see how that's not true. You're just looking at it happen. I mean, it's unfortunate that that was terrible timing on Shaq's part, right? And we would never consider that, and I'm Candace set the story straight, and so did Coops set the story straight today too. Cynthia Cooper, one of the greatest to ever touch the floor. I mean, it's nothing that we would ever consider. Like I said, we play the game just like our male counterparts do, and we're proud to play it the way we play it.
Yeah, what's dope is that, like we said last summer, like what I think helped also is that you guys played alongside the guys, and the guys were rocking the orange, the hoodies, and they were supporting it, and they were tweeting it out, catch the games. And I feel like, I've always, we don't talk a lot. I watch you. You're a marketer. So my thing is like when you in your locker room, when you're talking with the ladies and stuff like that, and one thing you guys are big on social media. Do you guys figure out your own way? Like, hey, you know what? People are going to watch us if we do certain things.
Yeah, for sure. We may not have the same viewership as the guys, but those viewers that do tune in, we're going to make sure that we get our message across. Right. We pinpoint those times because we understand that the position that we're in, sometimes we don't get the opportunity to use the platform as broadly as we may have wanted to, whether in the past or even now. But now we do have a focus on that time that we do get. You're going to hear our voices, right? And we're not only going to speak for ourselves, but we're going to speak for the people that feel that they're voiceless as well. And that's what you saw all season long. Even if we weren't saying a word, you were going to read. You were going to see it on the court. You were going to see the TV spots that we put out. You were going to see the T-shirts, the social media posts, all of that. Cut one because we understand the limited viewership, but we also do understand the viewership that we do have. It's like a catch-22 there. So it's just like, you know what? You make do with what you have, right? And in that sense, to amplify the voice and then watch it grow. So then the next time you come back to the stage, it's multiplied by like 1 million, and that's what you saw, and that's what you continuing to see. And we're not afraid to use our voices. It's like we don't have anything to lose. We're here because we fought to be here, right? And the only way we're going to remain here is if we continue to fight, not only for ourselves, but for those that come after us and for those in the community that look just like us.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
And to me, Essence, I watch the women's game, and I think to myself that there's an influx of talent that's also on the way. I mean, the players, as Ed mentioned, continue to get better. I think there's more attention on the game because of the growth of the college game, too. I mean, you look at what UConn has done this year again, and, someone like Paige is a freshman who I think is continued to kind of garner more national attention, and that puts more emphasis on the women's game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. As the younger athletes continue to become even greater, right? That's always going to grow the game. That's always you want those to come after you to be even better. That's the whole point. Because if we didn't come into the game and push the limits, then, the next group, I mean, the game is just going to, pretty much plateau and level out. You always got to continue to challenge each other. And if you're a true competitor, you understand the nuances behind all of that. It's not only about you competing against your teammate, right? Because it's always a competition, even though that's your teammate. It's always a competition, right? And you have to understand that competitive nature is going to grow the game. It's not only going to grow your game. It's not only going to grow your teammates' game. It's going to grow the game for those young girls and young boys that's playing, you know, in high school, AAU basketball, playing in elementary, grammar school, and all that. You know, the competitiveness has to continue to grow. And once you lose that, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen instances where it seems like, oh, they're not competing, and you can't watch it. You're gonna turn the TV off. You're gonna do something else. You're gonna be like, I'm gonna watch them in the playoffs because they're not competing, right? So now that you see this consistent competitive nature, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's making those young ones want to come up and get in that court and give it to you. You know what I'm saying? Give you buckets. That's the competitive nature of it all.
You know, and Essence, I'm the sports director at WFUV, so we cover all the Fordham games, okay? And this is a comment I've made, obviously, to many colleagues and friends. You know, you take a look at that program, for example, and with all due respect, you know, the women's program at Fordham has been the better team. They won an A10 championship just a couple of years back. They're playing in the NIT this weekend. And, you know, for a local program that might have had some success in the past on the men's side, that's a team that now for the better part of a decade on the women's side. And that, to me, shows that you have a lot of colleges, not just even here in the tri-state, but a lot of colleges around the country that now have more well-known women's programs, not just in basketball, but in all sports than some of their counterparts on the men.
You know, you have to attribute that. I mean, there's so many things you can attribute that to. One, you know, girls are getting involved in sports at a younger age, right? Consistently, you know, and then being welcomed into, you know, with open arms into the sports, you know. And then, man, they're grinding through high school. They're grinding through the AAU season. That's where you're going to see them really turn up, right? They're grinding. And then when they get to these programs, you know, they come with a sense of pride. It's not just a sense of I'm happy to be here, right? They come with a sense of pride now. So, you know, that's another element of it all. You got the competitive nature. You got to have some type of self-pride. You know, you don't want to lose. Some people show up and they just happy to be there, happy to have an opportunity just to attend school. You know, now when you're a true competitor, it's not only about attending, you know, just attending school. Of course, that is huge, you know, because you're getting an opportunity to attend school for free. But you're not just happy to be on the team. You're there. You know that you can make a difference and that you can win, right? Especially when you see some mid-majors upsetting, you know, some of the larger D1 schools and stuff like that. You're like, oh, shoot, I can make some noise here. So now you're not only seeing it happen at some of the, you know, BCS type of schools, you're seeing it happen at all levels, because now you're seeing people get a chance to be in the league that have come from all types of different schools. It's not just like, well, you have to go to these schools in order to be drafted, which it was kind of like that for a long time. But now people are coming to watch good basketball players no matter where they come from.
You know, you're a leader, and I want to know, like, who guided you. Obviously, you know, you have Vivian Stringer, you have a great family. Like, who do you rely on like when things are rough? Who do you call?
Probably my high school coach, who's like, he's like a father figure. He's a mentor. He's the one that really tuned me into the whole like meditation and visualization when I was like 13, 14 years old, right? He told me, he put me on to reading those types of that type of literature and learning what all that was about before it even was like, you know, I don't want to call it trendy. Maybe people are just waking up, but before it really was a thing, right? And it has always kept me at bay, you know, and allowed me to kind of have that calm personality, even keel personality, stay poised at all times. Don't let things shake you. So if I, you know, for any reason become like off kiltered a little bit, it's just like, I'm gonna call and check in. And, you know, a lot of people don't hear about him a lot, but you know, he was always a great coach. He was more like a father figure. He believed in all of the girls that came through that Patterson Eastside program, and you know, and he only wanted the best for us, not only as basketball players, but as young women. And that's kind of how I ended up with Coach Stringer, because I saw that they were similar. they were similar. It wasn't just because Rutgers was in Jersey. Like I could have gone anywhere, I could have gone across the country, but that was something that really drew me in to go Stringer and her program because of just because of how she was. And I knew that no matter what, whether I became a professional basketball player or I decided to become a doctor or a music producer or something like that, that I was going to end up on the right side of things because people were teaching me how to move accordingly.
You going back to back here, Ed, or I get to jump back in?
No, you get to jump in.
I step on your feet, so I figured I would ask this time. I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Essence, for me, a big question that came up was I really wanted to ask you, and again, I'm sure a lot of our fans, of course, know about your career, but for those that do not, to me, you really have nothing missing from your resume, okay? First round draft pick, you've obviously played in 2 NBA finals, you've won a championship. I put down all the stuff in my notes here. I got some great notes here. You closed your career at Big East Defensive Player of the Year honors for 3 consecutive seasons, right? You got this prestigious accolades for that after the senior season. And talking about AP All-America honorable mention, candidacy for the Wade Trophy, the Naismith National Player of the Year, Senior Class Award for Excellence in Character, Classroom, Community, and Competition, Rutgers Hall of Fame in 2020. You played Team USA, 4-time gold medalist, FIBA success, WNBA All-Star. You've played overseas, Italy, France, Hungary, Spain, Turkey, Latvia. I mean, what have you not done when it comes to basketball? And I guess it begs the question, what else is there left to do? Is there anything left to do?
A Grammy.
Oh, yeah, that's true. If we're talking about outside of basketball, of course, a Grammy. Now, if we're talking about basketball, be a 2-time champ. Like, who wants to settle with one? I mean, I don't know. Some people cool with one, but, I like having at least 2 of those things, So, man, you just read up a lot. Sometimes I forget that I've done those things. I'm just so focused on what's like in front of me, and what's ahead. And sometimes I forget about things that happen, but thank you. That's true.
That's an awesome career. I mean, I actually think you should stop being friends with Ed. That's how impressive that career is. I mean, to me, you've totally eclipsed that friendship. I think it's on another sorry, on another level.
You can't forget those who came up with you. He was there, like, for real. Like he saw me grow from like just like kid that coming out of school and just grow through the league and learn and become somebody that uses their voice. Before I wouldn't say anything. I would just come out there and play hard and just be strong.
When you went to your second championship, you won your first one, and then you lost the second one on a tough 5-game series. Does that weigh on you, like even today?
Of course, nobody likes to lose. Or at least I don't like to lose. But I can say, we fought that one. I mean, man, we had an opportunity to close that series out a couple of times actually, because we were up in that series. I think that's the part that does sting, is like when you're up and you just don't finish, you don't close it. But it just, to me, it leaves that taste in your mouth where you're still hungry. You never want to finish out on that note. So I know everyone that was a part of that team that year feels like they have unfinished business, right? So to me, I'm just like, it's still always a motivational factor there. I always find things to motivate me, even if you won't think that they do. That's what just pushes me, because you can become complacent. You can become happy with where you are in life, and then that's it. I'm always trying to get better, learn new things, improve, not only myself, but those people around me. So yeah, man, that still stings, and still trying to get another one. Been trying to get another one since then.
I was gonna say, in your career, who's your all-time 5? Either you played it with or played against in your all-time 5.
Dude, we got some great players, right? So you got a Diana Taurasi, you got a Cappie Pondexter. She was lethal. You saw her drop like 40 plus in the Garden. You got Candace Parker, of course. You got a Tamika Catchings because of her tenacity, and she would just outwork you. You know, that was her thing. So that's 4 people there. And then what spot I have left? I have a point guard spot left, huh? Because we'll shift Cappy over to the 2. We'll let D play the 3 just because of her size. D ain't posting nobody up, but still she gonna light you up. She gonna be able to see the floor. Man, for that point guard spot, I mean, it would be a no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer who the point guard would have to be at this point. Shoot, there would have to be Sue Bird. Now we're talking about people that I played with or played against. Mm-hmm. All right, let's make that clear. Now, people I have not played against, so you got the Cynthia Coopers, you got the Teaspoons. You know, this is like almost like how they have the different all-decade teams and stuff like that. All right, so you got the Coop, you got Teaspoon, you got Tisha Pantero. She was
lethal.
Nice. Now that's a I don't know, those 2 point guards right there. They were fire. You know who else was great in their time? You know, Yolanda Griffith was great.
Griffith was a beast.
Yo was on the boards. She was just all over the place. It's quite a few people. I guess I would miss one more person with that 5. Oh man. I'm trying to think who would be that last person. Lisa Leslie. Oh my goodness, how can I forget her? Oh my gosh. Lisa Leslie, of course, in there. So there you go. That's 5 and 5 right there.
I was gonna say one of the things that obviously I wish I would have seen is like the Knicks. I've never seen the Liberty Championship. And I feel like
it was close.
It was close. And my thing is like, how big of a help do you think for the WNBA if the Liberty would have won a championship?
Oh, it would have been tremendous, right? You talking about? I mean, I know things have shifted, but you know, I'm an East Coast kid. You know, born and raised, Pasadena, New Jersey. My family's from Jersey and out there in New York, out in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up understanding that the Mecca of basketball resided on the East Coast, right? That's just how I was raised. The Mecca of basketball was New York City. If you wanted to, you know, play against tough competition, especially guards, you had to go to the city. Of course, Jersey has a ton of guards, and you're starting. A lot of people starting to become schooled on all the great guards that came from Jersey too, because they kind of just lump us all together. Jersey and New York just lump us together, right? But yeah, like for the Mecca to have a championship would have been amazing. It would have done a lot, you know, especially on the women's side. You know, it would have been amazing. I think it probably would have changed, you know, the future of the Liberty a little bit. You know, I mean, they have a new home in Brooklyn, just like, you know, the New Jersey Nets have a new home in Brooklyn. I mean, it all kind of works out. You know, they all kind of stay in New York, but I get it. Like, people used to look at the Garden a certain way, like, this is it. The Knicks are it. This is before the Nets came to Brooklyn. It was just like, this is our team. You know, it doesn't matter how many games we win, how many games we lose. This is it. This is how we ride. We ride or die fans, and we're going to stick with it no matter what. So that if you bring a championship into that type of atmosphere, oh, it goes crazy. It doesn't matter if it's men or women or little league. It doesn't matter. Like, New Yorkers go crazy when they win. It's like they got thrown in your face, you know, type of thing. It would have been amazing. Too bad it didn't happen. Doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. I mean, but it just would be in Brooklyn now. And I know how some people feel about that.
Yeah, I would say Bobby is one who is not a Knick fan. He's a Knick hater.
Not true.
So,
I'm
but
a Knick fan at heart.
So the question is, if the Nets win a championship, do people really care in New York City?
I want to say that they want to say out loud that they don't, but if they win, they're gonna care. Like, it's New York. Like, I want to say that, you know, it's tough. Like, you know, like when you're a Knicks fan, it's really hard for you to be a fan of the Nets. You know what I'm saying? So it is, but at the end of the day, it's just like how you got Giants fans and you got Jets fans. When the Giants won, the city still was going crazy. The city still was. You couldn't even tell who was who at that point, right? Everybody came out in red, white, and blue. At that point, now things might have changed. The year later, 2 years later, they might have put back on their green and they white. But at that time, it was just like, yeah, New York, we got the chip. Period. But it's a tough discussion.
I was say before, if the Nets play the Lakers in the championship, who are you rooting for?
Well, first of all, I'm born and raised in Jersey, right? So technically, that's the Brooklyn Nets, right? I reside in LA right now, and I got all the love for the fellas on the Los Angeles Lakers team, and they're amazing too. They're amazing, but the Nets got something special going right now. They honestly, I'm happy to see Kyrie beat who he is right now, and for people to finally recognize who that is and not try to align him with somebody who he isn't. And he's playing like he's free. He's always had the handles. He always had the ability, but now you're seeing the game and the mind connect on his side. And and he's a Jersey boy too. So it was just like, I kind of have to, that's technically the home team. And you just want to see some people, get the accolades that they definitely deserve. And all the they did a great job of putting a good team together over the past, I don't even know how many years. They came from the bottom, started from the bottom. That's them. Like, for real. So to see that happen is like, that's tremendous. Just like it was good to see the Lakers make their run and come back after not being in the playoff for some time. You like to see those things happen. And this year might be that time for them. I mean, it's going to be a great championship. It's going to be a great finals, though. I'm telling you that. It's going to be a good one.
And Kyrie's been a game changer, too, away from the game of basketball, which I think, sometimes he gets some flack for, but definitely deserves more credit for.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that's been part of a lot of the, I don't even know what to call it, just the naysayers, the flack, all of that was just because he was just being who he was. And sometimes when you have your eyes open to the world in a different way, they may not be the popular, opinion, the popular view at the time. Sometimes it's hard for people to even understand what you're seeing, what you're feeling, and the decisions that you do make. And all the while, you're still growing up, you're still maturing at the same time. So I know it's been tough for him to kind of handle that and take that on, but he's done a tremendous job using his voice, no matter what, just staying within himself and being who he is. And now it's just like, oh, okay, now we accept you for who you are. He didn't waver at all. He walked the line like he wanted to walk that line, and here he is, being a champion off the floor. As far as, we're not talking about championship trophies or anything like that. We're talking about using his voice and using it for the people, whether it's men or women.
Yeah, Essence, for me, as I said at the top of the show, to call you a game changer away from basketball, I mean, I think a lot of our fans would agree with me here. I mean, basically in 2007, Don Imus puts you in position to have to be kind of spoken beyond your years at that time as a young college athlete. And, these days now, to think we're in 2021, are you surprised that you still have to basically be in this fight against racism in 2021? And this is something you've been dealing with your entire life, your entire career.
I'm not surprised, right? There's a couple of reasons why I'm not surprised. One of the main reasons I'm not surprised is because my entire life, I've lived my life as a Black woman. I come from Paterson, New Jersey. That's the inner city. So then, you couple those together. So, there's, whether there's a lack of opportunity or whether there's a different way that they treat us, coming from Paterson, or those that live in Paterson versus our surrounding towns or surrounding cities, surrounding suburbs. I got to see that at a young age because of basketball, right? at first I only played basketball in Patterson. I didn't really, know what basketball or what other programs or what other schools looked like. But then I got to experience and traveling to these different cities, playing against these other teams and seeing their resources. That's just one little thing, right? Resources. Then you talk about what they do in school, and that's a whole nother thing. And you start realizing like, oh, they're getting treatment differently. They're getting treated differently. Okay. And then, growing up with my grandparents, of course, you hear stories about what happened, as they call it, back in the day. But how could I be surprised? They were probably surprised in 2007. You talking about when they were around for the civil rights movement, for the first civil rights movement, and now I can't even say it was the first, but the civil rights movement in the 60s, So the fast forward to 2007 is just like, okay, we still going through this. They're probably like, oh wow. They weren't like, oh wow. To me, I'm just like, oh, this is what they were talking about then, but just, in a different light, right? It's more of an undercurrent to it. It's an undertone to it, and then you fast forward even further along, 2020, 2021, we're dealing with the same issues, right? It's the same person underneath that mask, right? One day it's a wolf, another day is something else, it just changes faces, but the inside character, the soul of that is still the same. So we're not addressing the actual cause. We're kind of putting Band-Aids on things. But what I can say is that we're beginning to peel back all the layers now. Now it's like, okay, America, accept your history. This is how this country was built, right? Now let's take it back even further. So now we're peeling back all the layers, and now we have to look at ourselves in the mirror, and people don't like what they see. So the people that have contributed to that, if they don't like what they see or who they see in the mirror, how do you think that we as Black and brown and the Asian community, how do you think we all feel as being on the receiving end of all of this? So it's no surprise. They're probably surprised that we still fighting and we still kicking, but it's not gonna end, because now we're instilling that into the youth. We're telling the youth to speak up, use your voice, so I don't think it's going to go anywhere as far as our fight. Now we just got to continue to fight and continue to unify. A lot of times they were just able to separate us as different groups, right? Blacks, Hispanics, Asians. All of a sudden,
they can't do it.
We're all different. You can't do it anymore. Now we're starting to see that. Oh no, we're all getting treated the same. So what's this problem? What is the common denominator here? So let's address that. So yeah, I'm not surprised, but I am happy with our unification at this time and our fight, and it just has to keep going.
How proud of you were with Renee Montgomery getting a percentage of ownership with the Atlanta Dream, and I think you guys played together, right?
Yeah. Well, Renee and I play against each other. We play with each other, USA basketball, for sure. That's great. Because, I actually spoke about that in an interview, where it's just like, as an athlete, right? You grow up, you just dream about being an athlete, right? Of course, there are other things, but as far as in sports world, you're like, oh, athlete. Once I become the professional athlete, that's it. That's the top. That's the top of the mountain. She just took it a step further, right? She showed the next generation that you don't have to stop at just being the professional athlete, right? You can become an owner. You can become an owner of a team that you played for, part of an organization, a league that you played in, as a woman, right? That is an amazing feat, and I couldn't be any happier for her than I am right now. And I know she has the support of so many women, not only in the league and the WNBA, but across many leagues throughout this entire world. That's just something that you just don't see every day. And hopefully one day it becomes something of the norm, so new aspirations for the next generation.
Yeah, Essence, Ed and I talk politics all the time. We're not just, jocks, talking sports. And, one of the things that we talk about oftentimes, I guess more off the air, is just a common idea that this country always seems to preach that it's progressive, but it's very far from it. I mean, maybe more recently we've taken some minor steps to be a bit more progressive, but when you're just talking about having a woman in the White House that's not the first lady and it's 2021, or that you've only had maybe one woman that even ran for president. I mean, that's not very progressive when you have other countries that have had female leadership. And I think, as a powerful woman in the game of basketball that is changing the sport on and off the court, you have to be, to me, excited about the prospects of the future when you finally see that there is maybe us turning a corner in 2021.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I was deciding whether I wanted to look at that as the glass half empty or half full, right? Because you come from both sides, because you did mention both sides. Like, hey, we've always been saying how progressive we were or we are, but it's not until 2021 that we actually took this big step. I guess, for lack of better words, for a long time we've talked the talk. Now we're looking at each other and we're holding each other accountable for walking the walk, right? It's easy to say so many things, right? I think that's a lot of times that's what with the general public, they have these gripes with politicians about, because it's like they always tell us what we want to hear, but they never follow through.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of layers to that, but they have the right to feel that way. Right. Now it's time to start walking the walk. And a part of that has been us just becoming more involved in politics, I guess, right? Using the leverage that we do have, and identifying where they try to suppress that leverage or oppress that leverage. The future is bright, I believe, as long as we continue on the path that we, the people that are on the front lines fighting, as long as we continue that and continue to have people join us, become allies, which is crazy that you got to say people have to become allies to do what's right. But unfortunately, that is the ugly truth of where we are. As long as we continue to do those things and hold our moral standards high, I think we'll be okay. But right now we're almost like we're in an awakening period where it seems like it's just so painful. It's frustrating. You're fighting with someone that lives in your house because you have different views at this point. And you got kids disowning parents because of the parents' views and vice versa. It's just that looking in the mirror moment. When are you finally going to say enough is enough? And when you're going to finally say what is right and what is wrong, and don't be afraid of the quote unquote consequences. Because at the end of the day, what do we really, really have? Right? We walk outside, they want to kill you because of what you look like. You stay inside your house, they want to kill you for what you look like. So what do you have now? You don't even have safety on your own property, in your own home. The kids aren't even safe in school, not even safe in church. Please tell me, what do we have at this point other than our own fight and our will to fight?
So, my last question is, so what does the future hold for Essence Carson? Is it politics? Is it being executive in the music industry? Is it owning a team, a general or a president of a team? What's it look like?
That's a good question. That politics question has come up a lot over the past decade, and I'm like, nah. You see, I want to affect, the people in a different way, and it doesn't mean that I can't have an effect on politics or in politics. It doesn't mean that at all. But I don't know. I don't know if that's a game that I want to play. All right. Now, continue to rise up the ladder on the music side of things, of course, become an executive, and who knows where that will propel me on that side. Now, on the sports side, owning a team, of course. But, you know, I always like to dream big. Sometimes so big that people can't even really fathom what I'm even talking about. But I don't think it would stop at owning a team. I don't think it will stop there. Possibly creating something that's going to, we already think that music and sport is, you know, they're already intertwined and they already overlap and they already do business with each other, but somehow coming up with a whole nother way to bridge that there is a gap that's there, to bridge a gap that's there. That just combining both of my passions together, and using that to continue to be a positive light for everybody that's around me, whether you're around me directly, remotely, virtually at this point. Yeah, just showing people that anything is possible. Like even things that I haven't even mentioned. You know, anything's possible.
I have one final question because we can't let Ed have the final question.
Oh man.
I went back and I dug up the press release from last season when, of course, the WNBA had basically dedicated the season to social justice. And in that press release, Essence, they wrote that the goal was to drive impactful, measurable, and meaningful change, okay, which is a beautifully written line. But I think the question that I have for you is, A, have they done that so far? And B, if they have not accomplished that so far, what do they have to do in order to accomplish that in the future?
You're right. Yeah, that was beautifully said. I guess I can start by saying that we understand that the change isn't done, right? But what we did do is we didn't start the conversation, but we amplified the conversation, right? So I think that we did that. Now, are we going to continue to push for more change? Of course. This isn't going to happen overnight. It took hundreds of years to build what we see now. So I understand that it's not going to happen in one season, a couple of months. It's not going to happen in 1 year. The dismantling of like all of the injustices, the systematic racism, all of that. It's going to take a long time. But what we can say that we did is that we amplified that conversation that was being had amongst people that look like us in those small rooms, right? So now it was heard all over the country. And then it's like, oh no, it's heard all over the world now. Everybody heard about it at this point. So it's like, okay, this conversation is going. So we're going to keep encouraging people to continue these conversations, keep encouraging people to make changes in their own cities, with their local government, in their school district. We're going to continue to do those things. And when we come to the next crossroad, we'll troubleshoot, right? That's what we seem to do. And I'm thankful for that ability, to be a part of a group that is, you know, dedicated to doing those things, to amplifying these voices and being organizers, you know, and getting the right people together, and utilizing the platform. I just wanted to continue to utilize our platform because that in turn will encourage a lot of other people from all different age demographics and all that to use their platform. So as long as we keep doing that, I think we're on the right path. And that is going to ignite those other people that are going to continue to change the future ahead of us.
Well, we're definitely thankful for you tonight, being here and sharing a lot of great thoughts about your career and the future of the game.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Now, Essence, I appreciate it. I am going to LA next month, so drinks on me. And while we're having drinks, I will Venmo Bobby C to Venmo us more money so we can buy more drinks.
I love it. No, you definitely got to hit me up when you come up here, man. Don't forget to hit my line. I'm gonna be here, sunny California. Whenever I'm not in the gym, or in front of my computer, answering emails and troubleshooting. You know, I'm always available.
I gotta get in the studio. I gotta see what what you're doing out there.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, I gotta bring that East Coast swag out here, man. I gotta bring that out here.
You don't have to be nice there because we're on the air, Essence. I mean, you can actually be like, I don't want you texting me, whether you're here in New York or out on the West Coast.
Look, Bobby, I love you too. Don't get it twisted. Look. It's enough love to go around for everybody. I think that's the problem. People think that it's not enough love to go around, but it really is.
I'm glad you saw through the wall. I'm glad somebody saw it.
It's all good. It's all good. I got love for you too. Look, when you come out here, Bobby, the door's open.
That's what I like to hear. I'm definitely gonna take you up on that, Essence.
Appreciate you guys. Bless and stay warm out there, because you know we don't have those problems out here.
Later.
Peace.
Oh, back-to-back weeks, man. 2 big-time shows. First, we wound up Charles Oakley last weekend, and then basically, those comments, like you said at the top of the show, they went viral. And I think some great commentary tonight from Essence about
Essence is a gem. She's a gem. She's a champion. A heart of gold. I'm proud of her. She's had a great career. And, we didn't even talk about, how much of a philanthropist she is. But she does that. She does everything. She does music. She plays the piano. She plays basketball. She's giving back. She's a true champion.
And definitely some tough, subject matter, I would say. Obviously a lot of the conversations, I think thankfully the last year, even during tough times, have been about trying to make, finally make progress, and I think it's the responsibility of everyone, regardless of color or even sex, to be part of that progress, and that's why I even make those comments about Shaq. I think anything that is negative sets back the narrative when it comes to progress.
Well, I don't know if, his comment though, I don't know if it was negative, maybe in his mind it's like, hey, I'm trying to help amplify the league and it'll be more exciting. Shaq's not that type of guy. So everyone knows that. So my thing is like, Essence knows that too. Like, he said it and he probably meant it in a way where, it can help the league. But, we know the league, the rims are always going to be 10 feet. Women are becoming more athletic than ever before. The game is in a good place. The marketing is getting so much better. People go to catch a WNBA game.
Yeah, I just think, of course, again, even in joke, it could be misconstrued, and sometimes, those are the types of things that could lead to, again, negative conversations. And I think we've just reached a point. I'd like to think we've reached a point where all of this stuff should be more in the positive light. Ed, political conversations, sports conversations. Those are the things like, again, even we kind of touched on it briefly, but even someone like LeBron James, I think this week, being part ownership now in the Boston Red Sox and talking about, like Essence had said, trying to own an NBA team and basically make headway not only as an athlete, but as a businessman and change and evolve the game and change the game outside of the lines. I think that's what a lot of young athletes should aspire to be. And we really haven't seen a lot of that when you think about it. We've seen it more now. But I was, even mentioning to one of my colleagues, and I don't know if you would agree with me as we close out the show tonight, you have someone as pivotal in sports history as, let's say, Jackie Robinson, and then later on, I think it's Muhammad Ali. I think in these conversations, when I think about social justice, and then there's really a big gap after Ali. There's been athletes that might have done things in moments, maybe athletes that have been praised in certain moments, but so many times you and I have spoken about this, even someone like Michael Jordan, who was expected to do more, that didn't do more. And it's really only a player like LeBron James more recently who has stepped up and kind of shouldered, this big revolution, I think, in the sport. And I think it's something to, really be respectful of and noble about. And the same conversation for Essence, what she's been able to do for the women's game not just not just scoring baskets and playing defense, but what she's been able to do away from the game is impactful.
I was gonna say, well, the cool thing, what people don't realize, some people are like, when LeBron put out that tweet, maybe he should buy a WNBA team. He's technically not allowed to because of the collective bargaining agreement. No current player could own a WNBA team or an NBA team, which is why he's not owner of, he couldn't make an offer with the Atlanta Dream. When his career is over, maybe that's something he'll do. But like you said, like, he's very outspoken. Me, I'm a big LeBron fan. So the guy, I understand, people don't like him. I don't know why. The guy never had any problems. He does what he's supposed to do. He's a champion. He might win it again this year. And he's going to go down as top 2 players of all time. So kudos to him.
I would love to see him do that. I would love to see him own either an NBA team or a WNBA team. No doubt about that. And I would love to see Essence, maybe own one as well at some point.
Yeah, because I'm going to ask her. I need to be the GM.
We could have spoken to her, I would say, even for another hour. I mean, there were so many questions would have loved to have asked her, even Candace playing with the Chicago Sky. There's so many things we could have spoken to her about. Maybe we can have her on the show again. Maybe you can pester her like you do all.
I don't pester anybody, man.
And eventually we'll have her on again. But
you know what? This is next week's challenge. Next week you're getting the guest. I'm not getting the guest. Yeah.
That's a good place for us to probably close the show. Thanks to Essence Carson. We'll see you next Thursday.
Later.